Good afternoon, LinkedIn friends, HubSpot Nation. Welcome to another edition of
Hit the button.
unboxing. We're unboxing Quote Happily yet again. You guys continue to deliver in this much needed,
That's why they call us the milkmen, because we continue to deliver.
HubSpot use case of making quoting better. Here with Dax and Max. How you guys doing today?
Big chillin', Chris. How are you, dude? I feel like
how are you doing?
I feel like it's been ages since I've been graced by your presence.
Yeah, the best I can do is hang out with you and Kyle on Mondays. Sometimes listen to you and enjoy.
It doesn't count though, because I don't get to see you.
I know it's been a little bit.
See you. I need to physically see your just embodiment, yourself, your human form.
Well, here we are. I deliver to you, I guess.
Amazing. It feels so delivered.
Oh, doing good. I'll tell you what, I'm super excited. No offense to you guys, but
he's about to say something super offensive right now.
Yeah,
I get to talk. I get to do my first unboxing live with Jeff Vincent right after you guys.
Okay.
To get serious about the HubSpot customer data model.
Ooh.
And make sure everybody knows that there's lots more objects than just companies, contacts, and deals now.
That is based and true. Yep.
And who better to chat than the guy in charge of CRM objects?
Can you reiterate my lock to him for inbound? Do you know what my lock is?
What is your lock?
My lock is that if we get conditional middle panel cards and tabs, as well as right sidebar, I will tattoo a sprocket on my arm if we get it by inbound, and I will do it at inbound.
I'm pretty sure one of the PMs confirmed that was happening before inbound in Sprockets.
Conditional middle panel? Yo.
We haven't seen it yet, so.
That's conditional CRM cards in the middle panel. Yeah.
That's super hot. Big fan.
It's coming. I mean, the team's working hard, right?
Yeah.
The team's working hard over there, continuing to deliver.
Just saying. They released that before inbound. Maxie's getting a sprocket tattoo.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they can't do it all, which is why we appreciate Happily always.
It's actually so true, Chris.
Delivering the milk, as Max suggested.
Wow.
And the latest thing has been Quote Happily. Just tell me, let's dive in. I know you guys have been working hard. There's every time somebody asks a question about quoting on LinkedIn, I feel like you guys are right there. Yep, we got that.
Yeah, man, it's a big deal, right? Quoting goes far and wide, and as nuanced as every business under the sun is, their quoting and their pricing models and their delivery and how those pricing models are delivered are completely different. We cherish HubSpot for being the platform and knowing that there are nuances that they shouldn't go deep down into. And that's why we're here. And that's why we exist, which is this quoting tool called Quote Happily. It's really customized quoting configurations. So I'm stealing from Max's playbook. It is the guidance and guardrails so that people sell the right thing to the right person for the right price at the right time without anyone having to think.
So true.
And without having to leave the portal, right?
Not even leaving the portal. We're talking about, and you're not leaving the portal. You're not using something that's outside of HubSpot. You're using native products, native quotes, quote templates, line items. The quote builder is within the deal. I've heard far and wide native CPQ. The only native CPQ says every single integration. I believe that we are the native. We don't even go CPQ. We take quoting to the next level within HubSpot using HubSpot, not using some other stuff. Talking from quote templates to the product properties and reports that you want to use. We got it. Shout out to the new MRR reporting.
Oh yeah, the new line item stuff is pretty cool.
Guess what?
Like the line
compatible with Quote Happily.
Yep.
True. It's the same.
Yeah. I want to thank you for not actually using a brand name that includes CPQ, because people need a lot of help with quotes. And then most of the time, they don't need a CPQ. They just
they
need better
just
quoting stuff.
they're just like, hey, if this product is on the quote, I need you to discount product Y and Z by 10%. That's it. That's all I want.
Mhm.
And we got you. Hey, I want to take 20% of everything I sell that starts with the letter Z and turn that into my onboarding fee. Got you. Easy. I want to send a quote and I want the prospect to pick between 2 or 3 things. Got you. And that's what we do.
So this has been out for about a year now. Yeah.
Has it been a year?
Has it been a year? That's a great
summer last year, right?
You keeping track more than I am. It feels like it's been more than that.
Maybe
But no, it was at Inbound.
summer.
It was at Inbound last year when we literally had our first, hey, we have the thing. Do you want the thing? They bought the thing. And that was at Inbound at the table. So that was September of last year.
You're right. We did sell our first one in
Roy
Inbound.
Jenkins at the booth, the first HubSpot quote sent out.
True.
That was a nice booth too. A little campfire.
Like, we're going even crazier this year. It's going to be sick.
Yeah. We're going to see everybody in San Fran, see how we do.
But yes, so since then,
it's been a year.
Since then, outside of the product, because this is why I do content like this. What's the vibe, or better yet, understanding of CPQ in the HubSpot space? What do you guys seeing?
It's just like, let's say ABM, or it's as broad as CRM. I need a PLM. It's another acronym that can mean whatever you want it to mean. And for everybody, it means a bunch of different things. So they kind of just settle for CPQ. And most people don't even remember what it stands for. So we say it. I say that very little because it's irrelevant, right? It's a broad term because people don't know. People don't come to us saying, "I need a CPQ." People come saying, "I need to do this particular action." Right? I need something that I can build this and extend upon in my quoting piece. Examples, pile up out the door. But it's not necessarily a configure price quote because HubSpot themselves have a way to configure and price and quote. There's no levels to that, right? It is I believe CPQ is a singular action. Well, it's a triumvirate of actions. It's configuring and pricing and quoting, which you can just do in HubSpot. You can do on a calculator. You can do pretty much anywhere, right? You can say, this is my pricing. You can do it on anything. Piece of paper, you can CPQ. But in reality, that's the mentality is that folks, when they are struggling or they have advanced pricing models, right? They need quote happily or the like. They need to do something that extends further than HubSpot, but while leveraging HubSpot and working within HubSpot, not needing to learn a different tool. They just want to quote with HubSpot and add their rules, add their guidelines, add their special approvals, add whatever they need to the quoting process. And we stay very much in that lane of quoting, not billing, not provisioning, not subscriptions. So your ERP can do its thing. We are specifically helping you quote happily inside of HubSpot.
I love it. Was there anything? What have been the biggest surprises so far, as the roadmap had to change it all product wise? Like
it's just what people ask for. Right. You know what I mean? It's like I remember when we were first asking sales reps and like solutions engineers at HubSpot, and even going off of like my experience of what I saw, it was like everyone was like, price books. We need price books. And like when we first launched price books, which like was, amazing for solved a million problems that people like actually needed, we just stopped hearing about it. And it was like new stuff. Like, I need to be able to do this. I need to be able to do this. And it's just like, y'all just said price books for so long. And now it's like, where are all those people at? But it eventually picked up, but it was just like the new features people were asking for. I can't remember. It was calculated pricing, like the big one that like held us back for a while, Dax.
Yeah, calculated pricing was a big one. Chris, I know we had early conversations about needing to be like height times width times length of associated objects times this of the deal plus this of the company. And it needs to be changed all the time. So that we've like solved for. Similarly, Our bundles concept kind of morphed from an original concept. And then once we got deeper into what people really need for bundles, and it's less bundling, right? Like the collections feature, it's more a product configurator, right? Because a lot of the times when a rep has, here's an easy one, fire extinguisher sales. If you're doing sales and service of huge buildings in this, you have not only, I have this service that I provide that is comprised of one or many items of service that you want to include, but each of those within it have their own pricing model. It's not just a sandwich, right? It's, I want a sandwich, but I want double meat, but only if it's Thursday that the meat is 2 times the price. And then the lettuce is, well, if it's iceberg, it's one price. If it's, romaine, it's another. If it's a spinach mix, it's another. All of that is what comprises what they call a bundle. But in reality, it truly is a product configurator because they're configuring the sandwich. So that was what it really dove deep into, and we had to kind of jump back and update the way that we serve product configurations. And that's now like a pillar of the product, is that I'm able to go in, have all these different things and have swappable items. Like if you order a pizza, do you want the pepperoni? Do you want sausage? You can swap that meat out. You can swap the veggies out, and then have additional add-ons. And then having, again, the flexibility, which is the fundamental of how you build an app, is make people be able to have the Legos to do whatever they want. Then you don't have to solve for features. You need to solve for components that can build whatever feature request that you have. But being able to have add-ons so that they don't have to have anything included in the bundle. The sales rep can then add what they want, but it's, again, defined specifically to the add-ons that are a part of that bundle. When you have that 10,000 products library, you don't want to have the reps searching through folders to try to find this HVAC joint, and it doesn't go with this bundle, right? You can't put the rubber on the water thing because it's going to eat the rubber. Like, it's just not the right joint. You need to do like a PVC joint or whatever. So having all of those guidance and guardrails so that the rep can't mess it up or do the wrong price or the wrong currency or the wrong discount, that's kind of, again, the components that we've built to solve for left field requests. We're like, oh, you can do that because you can build it this way.
Yeah. And looks like we got at least one fan out there loving how integrated Hapily looks.
Dude, Ryan, that's the whole point.
HubSpot.
Man, you gotta blur the lines, baby.
Yeah, like we try to build stuff that makes it just look like new features in HubSpot. Like, if you think you're using a different app, we're failing, right? Like, even if you go and look at like our admin panel and the stuff for both event and for quote Hapily, like even the stuff that lives outside of HubSpot looks and feels like HubSpot, because we don't want you to feel like you're learning a different piece of software. It just should feel like a natural extension of HubSpot, because it quite literally is a natural extension of HubSpot. Like, all of our data stored in your HubSpot, all of like our functionality exists in your HubSpot, all the data we use is in your HubSpot, right?
Yeah, you're not.
It is HubSpot it's as close as it can get to a native feature as possible.
Yeah, especially when we did the calculated pricing, and we took a heavy inspiration with how calculated properties work inside of HubSpot. You can test it. You get your cute colors that kind of get built out. Everything operator-wise, how you're choosing what you want to use within your formula to create your price. All of that is, again, HubSpot style guide, making sure that if you are in our admin, you don't look like you're too far away from the actual HubSpot product.
You don't want people to feel like they're learning something new.
Right. Learning something new is the biggest thing. When we talk about, a lot of people are like, hey, I don't want to learn
speaking of
such and such, right? Yeah. Yeah. You don't want to have more stuff, more manuals, more UI. Where do these buttons go? How do these buttons look? A lot of that is subconscious, right? Like, when you live in HubSpot, we know what to expect when we hover over something. We know where, if there is a menu, where those 2 or 3 menus are going to live, right? When you see a list record, they all look the same. That concept is what we really try to strive for with everything that we build, so that it's just HubSpot Plus.
Mm-hmm. HubSpot Plus is a good way to put it.
Let's be careful with the pluses.
Yeah,
they all do that. We're not a streaming service.
HubSpot, but better.
Yeah, we actually were thinking about that from a family perspective at some point, and I was like, we were like ideating, like what kind of words could we use to like let people know, like that we're like an extension of support, and they threw that one out there. I was like, okay, guys, like calm down. Like if we want to, let's avoid the confusing the market on things that relate to HubSpot. But that's the mindset has to be like that, right?
Mhm.
Because and talk about like the best way to protect yourself as a whether you're doing support, service, consulting, any kind of builds related to HubSpot. You guys are obviously doing apps. If you build with HubSpot into HubSpot tool sets, you're probably not like it's always opportunity when they do something new, right? Is that fair to say it? Like maybe not always opportunity, but
Well, you get to
you're ready.
leverage.
You're
You get to
more ready
leverage
than
the
anybody
advancement of the
else,
platform. Yeah, you get to
right?
leverage the innovation of the platform.
Yeah.
MRR reporting comes out. Guess what? We have an entire kind of functionality around prorations and doing prorations correctly. We have an annual term, but you want to sell it for 18. You have an annual billing cycle, but we want to turn it 18 months. Things like that all kind of wrap and leverage the new MRR reporting that you can use. We do a lot of CRM. We do a lot of CRM card stuff, middle panel, side panel, and that new functionality, which I saw yesterday when I opened it up. I was like, oh, this makes it easier for people to add their single object reports. They kind of visually know what they're getting into. So when they want to look at other objects, like for Event Happily, they can just, it improves the product. The product got better. Our product got better because HubSpot got better.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that probably feels good when that happens.
Oh, it's
right?
lovely. It's lovely. It's lovely.
Yeah.
So we don't have to do it, but we even the point is we can't do it. But HubSpot's still
Right.
just doing the deliveries and making all these new things. But as long as again you're native, you can take advantage of that, right? You can leverage that. If you're an external platform and I got to do everything elsewhere, it's nowhere to be found. That value isn't there. It's lost.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's whenever you're ready, feel free to walk us through what's new, or even the base stuff. What I'm interested in hearing is because I run into this when working with accounting systems and ERPs, and how people think about invoices. And I'm not afraid to name names when it comes to QuickBooks, but there has been such like since those systems, like that's where the money is. Gotta make the accounting work. They've decided what the best practices should be in a lot of cases. And an example on QuickBooks, like people come trying to do stuff in HubSpot and they cannot even fathom the idea of being able to associate more than one contact to an account. Meanwhile, they're trying their damnedest to figure out how to send an invoice to 10 different people without having to manually do it or put everybody in one note field. So I find myself trying to unravel these best practices in order to actually leverage HubSpot and what you're able to do with it. So I'm curious, as you go through, like anything that happened or anything that kind of felt like that you were kind of educating people not only on what's possible with HubSpot, but maybe improving their quoting processes or the way they think about how to deliver quotes to customers.
Let's talk about that, right? So I'm going to talk about kind of the fundamentals, which are rules and outcomes. And I'm going to we'll jump right into like the quote piece, because there's a couple different ways that we've brought new functionality to HubSpot quotes via the quote modules, and that people can instantly leverage and see value with, and maybe cut another system out that they use this for. Right? So I'm going to present a specific screen. This one. All right. Jumping into our rules, right? I'm going to look at, we have lots of different rules and outcomes, but as I do on like a demo, rules are, if you've built a HubSpot workflow, you can build a quote happily rule. It's looking at anything associated to the deal. We're talking the deal itself, custom objects, line items, discounts, the team, what's today, rip to the goat, TikTok today. Any of the things that you want to put on a deal, you can build into a rule. And this is one of the most simplest rules that could possibly happen. If the deal's name is attached file demo, we're going to prompt the user for some questions. every rule has an outcome, and all these different outcomes, such as block them from publishing the quote, require approval, setting the price book, all this cool stuff, adding a collection, updating a line item dynamically, adding line items. You can just do almost all the things you need to do. This particular outcome is called prompting the user. So it's almost like a guided selling where you can force the rep to answer questions about a given quote. Like, hey, what day is it today? Or when's the day you want this to start? I'm going to ask, what's the reference number on the PO or whatever, right? And then we can also ask them to add a file. This is adding a file is the biggest new feature of Quote Happily, where you can just have a PDF and slap that thing on the back of a HubSpot quote template, which has been needed for so very long.
Sick.
Let me just show an example of this. So got a naked quote with a bunch of stuff, but for this, we have our bundle, right, with our included products. But if you scroll down, you see that here's that appendix to the quote, which is what we wanted to say, and it's your real estate purchase agreement.
Are you still trying to share a screen, bro?
What? It didn't let me do it. It said it was sharing.
Closed it out on us.
Bruh. It said, would you like to share this one? I said, yes.
Psych.
It says, psych your mind.
Psych.
Psych your mind. So here we go. So I've got my quote, my HubSpot quote template, right? Going here. Now I can see when you scroll down, I've got that PDF that I've uploaded. Notice it's paginated all the way.
Oh, right in here.
Right in the HubSpot quote template. It's paginated out. So then you can add that. And I'm not going to do signature on it, but you could do your signature line below it. So you're truly getting 2-for-1 value. They're signing on the line items that they're agreeing to pay. They've got their terms and conditions, right? And then you're going to be able to add your signature on there as well. So you have everything that you pretty much need inside the quote template. Let me see if I can share this tab instead now. So that's the prompt user rule where I say, hey, rep, you got to fill this out before you can publish the quote. But there's a lot of software that all they do is charge you for taking your doc, your Word doc, your PDF, your whatever, and putting a signature on it. But now you can just do that out of the box with Quote Happily.
Very nice.
That one is a bigger one. Another newer feature, which is again
that too. It also Dax like circumvents people's need to like get really, really crazy building like custom quote modules too, which is like the worst part of HubSpot quoting.
Yeah, you don't want, especially for partners, right? When you're a HubSpot partner and you've got this client you're working with, you want to just be able to get started, right? When they get Quote Happily, they're going to have all the modules, they're going to get all the stuff, and you're ready to go. You're ready to implement HubSpot and not worry about this quoting piece, it's a large piece. It's an important and vital piece, but it's a smaller piece of this big HubSpot pie of all the stuff that you can do with automations and emails and sequences and follow-ups and this and that. It's a lot, right?
Well, it's usually so big. And honestly, this is the hard part about CPQ. Most companies aren't actually ready to have a CPQ.
Yeah.
But the way that's been is like, I mean, so many people run into Sales Hub like, oh yeah, we're still doing quoting outside of the system because it's just be like our spreadsheets and complex, and we don't want to. It's like, well,
they don't want to open. They don't want to pick up that rock and see those bugs.
Right. Like, but it's like, how much value do you lose? Like, sure, you can see like down to closed one, but how many times did you quote them? Like, when did the quote change? Like all the edits that teams make outside of the system, like.
It's the garbage in, garbage out. It's a lot of that is what holds up a lot of the, net new HubSpot deals. I guess from becoming full hub or multi-hub. They're like, just like Max back in the day, I'm sure I got marketing. Yeah. I got service. Yeah. Sales. Ooh, hold on. We're quoting from our ERP because you probably just can't handle the truth. And they themselves don't know the truth. That's the challenge, right? Because you get that's a hold up. I want to buy this product. I think it's great. It does the thing. I don't know where my pricing is actually. It's just the way it is. It's just how it's always been, right? So that's the challenge of, is the company ready for CPQ, or they just have some quoting problems that they want to solve real quick? And that's where we come in, right? So let me show you a little bit of just some commonalities that you can do, right? So obviously it's native, right? You get rid of your standard, the native HubSpot quoting CRM card, and you bring in ours, right? So I can edit this quote. We got a single page quote builder. One of the things I always wanted to do was the quote building process doesn't need to be 8 pages. It doesn't. It could just be one. So if you like it to be in a big one, you can pop this open and make it into like a big tab if you like as well. So you have full options of where you want to build your quote. The thing is,
Did not know that part. That is very cool.
oh, you can pop it open because the modals are limited. You only get such amount of size of the modal, so you can pop it open into a new window.
And almost every other CPQ I've seen does not understand that part. Like and one of my worst experiences as an admin, first of all, like doing my best to just help integrate this CPQ that I was just like, oh, dreading every minute of it. A new salesperson, like who's in it. And this is the worst part, right? They're invested, they're ready to go, they're energized, they're willing to do whatever it takes to make the system work. They're a team player. And you see their 13-inch laptop screen. And they can like fill out one field and scroll, like one field and scroll. They got to scroll so damn much. It's the worst experience. And in those moments, every one of those moments is like, oh, no shit, they're not going to use this thing. Like, they can't do their job. Right?
Yeah, they're not going to do it. So the opening in a new tab was just like, yeah, most of us are used to having 1 to 25 monitors in front of us, right? But in reality, not everybody's got that. You might just be on the laptop if I'm on the porch, or I'm here, or somebody's out there in the field in the truck. You got a little laptop, you got the mini, and that thing gets pequeño to the max. So open up a new tab, right? Again, one page, but the key is that most of the things that you really need to fill out, payment terms, options, comments, those can be automated via rules. If it's an enterprise company in North America or in the East Coast, here are the terms, here are the options, here are the comments. It can be all automated. So you're not really doing anything, right? Quote template. A lot of people have different quote templates based upon the region they're selling to or the type of product, or if it's a new renewal versus a new deal. Automated. Rep doesn't have to remember to do that. Completely automated, right? Expiration dates, when it expires, all that stuff. You just change it. So what I'm showing is the line items. These are HubSpot line items. Looks familiar. Quoting should look like a HubSpot quote. Pretty much does. I've got my price book already set. It's the cool kids because, of course, And what I'm showing here is my Nintendo Entertainment System, also known as the NES. But what's this red line error? Don't forget the warranty. So we have a rule that says if you're selling an NES product and you don't have a warranty, don't let them publish the quote. You got to put the warranty in. So I'm going to add my line item, and I'm going to go for my warranty right there. There it is. Again, this quoting experience should look like HubSpot, feel like HubSpot. I haven't used the line item module in HubSpot in a very long time. I'm pretty sure it's still like this. But now that I have my warranty,
it's just as bad as when we started.
Cool. So I have the NS warranty, and now I can actually go forward with that quote because I added that and removed that block. So everything else looks and feels just like HubSpot, like it should. Let me open up my NES bundle and illustrate how bundles work. So bundles, product configurators, tomato, but it really is a configuration of products. Right now, I have my console option, and I got the black on black edition for an extra $100. But if I don't want to do that black on black edition, I can just swap it out for the base, which is included. No increase to the price. I've got the NES Advantage controller because the NES Advantage, hold on. Because this is the controller that you want, right? You got to get the NES Advantage. Just to take a sidebar, my favorite controller of every system ever. This thing just has, you feel like you're playing with power. Let me tell you something real quick.
Built for the user. Built for the user.
It's right there, right? So I swapped out the NES Advantage, but let's say you got somebody who just wants the standard one. I don't know why they want the bone. They can swap it out, right? So these are predefined options for this particular Nintendo bundle. Notice you didn't see Genesis controllers. Notice you didn't see Xbox controllers. You only see what has been pre-configured for this particular bundle. Lastly, as the world has been quoting in Excel for so long, we have something called pricing tables, which kind of reflects that old school mentality of like, I just want my rep to select the thing and change the price. With your wall charger for your Nintendo, if it's the United States wall charger, it costs $5. But if you get the Japanese version, it's $15. If you get the PAL version, aka the UK version, it's $10. And you can see that pricing table of what those prices will be. This is just a product property that could be automated from HubSpot workflows or whatever, right? You can say if the deal is United States and I want the wall charge to be set to US because it's going to be that way. But you get that option and flexibility to change that and change that price. This also works with number properties, and you have your range of different numbers. I always use the example of like birthday parties. If you've got 1 to 5 kids, it's $20 an hour. If it's 6 to 12 kids, it's $30 an hour, and so on and so forth. So the rep isn't going to a spreadsheet to try to figure out the kids' numbers times the number of out. You don't have to do that, right? It's just all set for you. Then you got your add-on products, right? I got to add on the power pad, but you don't have to add anything on it either. You can just take that off. These are completely optional add-ons to your product that you can throw in there. Again, pre-configured. Also, I've set it up so that you can only add one or the other. So you could also add multiple, but again, this is that guidance and guardrails so that the reps are just quoting correctly, right? And then obviously you can preview your quote. So it's just HubSpot all over the place, right? I've got mine. You'll notice one thing is like, where's the controllers? Where's the advantage? Where's the console? We have different quote template settings that allow you to not show the bundle members. So you can only show the top. I mean, that's big for HVAC where each thing needs to have 100 line items, but you don't want to have a quote with 100 line items on it. You just want to have the HVAC Pro AC install as what you have. We have, all the different ways that you could show those different bundles. And again, you've got your terms and conditions and you check to sign. It's HubSpot at that point, right? So all these things are how you're building out your quote with the customization, with the pieces to build the pricing. So when you come and you need something, you can build it with the rules and your rep just swaps it out, hits go, no problems.
Yeah, you asked me to like ask questions and stuff like that. Usually it's related to like buying gotchas.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm having a hard time here.
I can work.
So if people could like, especially if you haven't been in quotes in a while, like it's just ridiculously smooth. You can't do anything near what Dax was just doing, like natively, right? Like the swappability, the ability to control like the this one or that one. You can't pick both.
Honestly, Chris, the most important thing is that it's using the native HubSpot products and line items and everything, right? Which means your reporting in HubSpot works great, right? It's all line items, it's all products, right? If you have apps that do integrations with the product library, maybe you've got custom API with your backend system shoving in product data. Maybe you've got a NetSuite integration that's pushing in like inventory data onto the product object, right? We just did a webinar with GSI on like the NetSuite connector with HubSpot, right? Like if it's product data, we work with it, which means if you have that integrated with anything else, it's going to work perfectly with quote happily. And you could even use it to like derive logic, right? Because again, we're just speaking that universal language of HubSpot, right? And that's like the important part of like building it native. Like if we built this to be a totally separate like third-party platform that was completely disconnected, that would have been a nightmare, right? And like, we're building it. It's, if you really think about it, it's just a better interface for the quotes tool, but it's still touching all the same stuff in the background. I'm really not giving it justice saying that, but like essentially what we did is like by replacing that experience you have creating the quote with something different that has all this back-end power behind it, right? It let us really build it into the tool in like a really natural way, which is super cool.
Yeah. And I love the pricing table example because even I was expecting some kind of like thing that had to be configured or like a spreadsheet was going to show up and like the fact that you said it's just another thing that's based on a product property, right? Yep. I love it when the native stuff like can be configurable in a way that is like in most every other system I found, it's never just as easy as, oh, let's add a new property. Yeah. Or even add another thing to the dropdown. Like literally those are like the IT projects that are like, okay, we can get that done in 6 months. It's like, what? Yeah. It's just one more option here. Like, and literally they have to do that because that kind of change will like risks like bringing down the whole system.
Yeah,
right?
the cascading
It's crazy that that's the world we're helping people come from. It's fun when we can get them to like come off of that, because that's that kind of exploratory, like discovery, mindset of how you use the system and how it can work together. That really allows people to leverage uh, HubSpot and tools like Quote Happily and even Event Happily, like to overcome challenges that have never been solved like before.
HubSpot has
Especially in
solved them
quote
and
to
makes it
cash,
easy. Yeah,
right?
HubSpot makes it easy to add a field to a property or add a field to an object. It's dead simple and dead easy. And I got a question from Ryan. How does the signature process quote? I'll give you a guess. It's HubSpot.
HubSpot.
There it is. So
how does it work in HubSpot? That's how it
the
works.
same way.
Yeah.
Include
Same
space
way.
for a written signature or use e-signature and do your countersigners, right? So it's all still HubSpot signatures and e-sign. We just have that module that I showed that I didn't do the other piece of, but we have a terms and conditions checkbox that you can check and then the signature shows up. We also have one that is you have to fill the prospect has to fill out a form and then they can actually sign the document. So that whole, hey, give me your things you never get. Give me your invoice number. Give me your portal ID. Give me this. Give me your billing address. Give me your billing zip code. Give me the last four of your whatever, right? Something crazy. But you can have that on our quote modules or on the quote template, we have a module for that allows you to fill out a form so that you can have the update the company and then subsequently the deal upon form signature. So you never won't get the information that you need. And one of the cool parts is, of course, it's HubSpot forms that we're embedding on the quote so that you get all the validation and everything. So you can't ask for your portal ID and they put 0000 just to get it through. You can validate it, right? Because it's a HubSpot form. So it's a lot of that here. I was going to show two other things real quick. I'm going to share, if I can share this screen. You talked about that pricing table. So how that works is if I go to Price Books and I go to that Cool Kids price book that was triggered, when I look at my wall charger, all it is I go into that product and I can change the pricing. And here's my pricing table. I pick the property, release region, and then I set the prices. And that's it. So then
so damn easy.
Yeah, it's
also managing the HubSpot product library from this easier place as well.
This is it. It's all HubSpot products. You can override everything by a percent decrease and increase. And that can be a different percent decrease and increase based upon the currency. So you can have a 5% discount in the EU, or you can have a 10% in the United States. So it's all different. Then you get to go into the granularity. I know one of your favorites was volume pricing for some socks. The first unit, for the first 1 to 10, it's $1. For 11 to 20, it's 50 cents, and 21 to whatever you guys get it. It's volume pricing.
Can we stick on that for a second? Because I did want to ask you guys about the line item specifically. Because I'm trying to forever make the case to the world, it seems like, including the cash flow team, and as they come in and do their stuff around the revenue experience and expand, what that looks like in HubSpot. I am on the side of let's not ask the line item to be something it's not designed for. And this use case is an example. Like when we need to quote stuff like this, like 10 of it, 20 of it, 30 of it, imagine that being in your portal as like a real object record. And you had to create those 3 just to support that quote every time,
right?
Knowing that they're only going to go forward with one of them.
Yeah.
Right. Giving that optionality and even changing it during the quoting process. It needs to be like super flexible, but then once it's signed and paid, we should not be managing that data like on the thing that we promised and the contract is related to. Right. So I've been pushing for a deliverable object to come after. So that we have 3 things. We have a product library, which is planned stuff, and also that's where the inventory information goes. Right? Line items is meant for that clay you need during the sales process until you put it in the fire and it's like, here you go. This is what you bought.
Yeah.
Right. But we try to like put addresses on there. We try to do all these things on the line item level because that's what people care about after the sale is what's the status of my line item exactly. Like as an example. So curious where you guys are in that debate of like, should we have full records for line items? Like, should they be a full object? Like, should we be able to associate them with whatever we want? I think the association thing is the other.
That's the thing. You nailed it. Everything should have, you should be able to associate line items in the UI to any other object. Even a contact. They have use because we have this challenge with Event Happily as well, because you need a way to have SKU, quantity, SKU, quantity, associated to anything, whether it be a SKU, whether it be a product, whether it be a ticket, whether it be a deliverable, whether it be anything. There's no other place, because you can't put that into a property unless you had some JSON in a property, but you need to be able to store proper, like you need to have I wouldn't say it's a sub object. It is an object. It's a line items object to be able to have quantities and product properties itself. That's why in quote happily, we are leveraging the product properties, because right now in native quoting is hung up on line item properties, which can be different amongst all the things, but you can't use in a standard quote template, you cannot display anything from the product. You have to display something from the line item, which is a representation of a product being sold to somebody. Now, we leverage the product itself and display everything on the product itself because that's where you should be able to know that pricing. And that's why we have price books, which delineates. In this instance, the table is 1 to 20 to 21 to whatever. In this instance, it's different terms, it's different things, right? Like you said, that deliverable is going to be different from one person to another or one group of customers to another. And that's why we have our price books. That's where that data lives, but it still represents and reflects the product and not the line item. The line item is like it served up to you, right? And that's kind of the biggest where we sit on that debate, but you gotta have line items for other objects. There's just, come on. Like if you have a car object, you might be able to have a line items for different warranty pieces. You don't need a whole object for warranties. You need an object that can have warranties and discounts and this and how many spare tires you want and how many like miles of service that you want to give. All of those things need like a product and a number, like a quantity. So there's just so much application, and I don't know why that's not the case where you can't.
Chris, when you've talked to them, have they given you an argument as to why they don't do it?
Well, remember, I'm in the camp of I don't want line items to change.
You want to start some extra stuff.
I want a separate object that can be managed by the other teams that are usually managing those line items everywhere else in the sale. Because when we try to do it with these, like the line item we sold, right, is related to the deal and the quote. And now we've got shipping address management happening by another team. And that team has to mess around in sales land to go, and that doesn't go well for teams. So handoffs suck, and like we got to name it a certain way because it's always going to be in front of the sales team and related to the deal. So the separation of, and really as I've delivered this to teams, it's like just the epiphany of, oh, we can have our own objects, like to manage things the way that we need to manage without worrying about how it's named for the sales team or the help desk with tickets, right? And I think I'm making progress because it really just, even in configuration situations, right? On a form, like we put a bunch of properties on a deal or a contact record that are like specifications for products because it's not time to quote yet. We don't even know if it's a deal, but we need to accept this information. And when it does move forward, we're probably asking for it again because we didn't capture it in any place.
Yep.
We're cluttering up the contact record. Like, so this place to like handle, it's basically like product lifecycle management, like on a different object, because these things have life cycles. I mean, the warranty is a great example that often there's separate teams needed to manage that thing. And they often show up as like $0 line items in all these systems that the accounting team absolutely hates. But because of that, teams suck at warranty management. And they're often asking customers like, hey, can you give me like, we think your warranty, I've heard like, we think your warranty's about up. Like,
You think?
what's your warranty number? Right. And just creating these data containers that can be associated. I think you're right in terms of like, we got to be able to associate whatever we're delivering with any place else, like in the CRM.
Yeah, it's just a core. You should be able to associate whatever to whatever. Just do that, and then
right. Associations and pipelines is what I'm looking for out of this separate object. And I could see a path towards them turning the product object itself like into that, but I think there's a space for the 3 objects to work together in concert in a way that works.
Yeah, you're needing the instance of it, the instance of the product in particular to somebody. But that basically is just a standalone line item. That object is. It's a line item that's not associated with anything that you can create a line item for car. It's the instance of, I know I'm going to need a car with a warranty with this, with that, with blah, 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 but it's standing alone. They actually want to buy it. Now I associate it to a deal. And now it's like in there, right? I think that there's an argument for standalone line because you don't want to have not gonna have a new product for this potential thing I'm going to sell. But it could be even that it needs to be built first. Like I need to order a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, it's almost as if like, could you create like groups of line items that
happen by themselves?
Yeah, that almost kind of like exist in their own little group, like before it's because
as an example, let me take
Chris's object that he's talking about basically.
Yeah, because I'm trying to deliver this to customers now because first of all, I'm in love with the customer success workspace as like a full funnel management space. And for most sales teams that are not as focused on net new, I think it's actually better than the sales workspace because we can go account and then we can go on services, which I've renamed to deliverables in a lot of cases. And I've got a catalog items pipeline that works a lot like a price book.
Mm-hmm.
And now that they've let us start cloning stuff, or if you have something like Clone Attack in place, I can copy that from the catalog items pipeline into a fulfillment pipeline, right? And move through the whole process. As I do that, I associate it with like the deal. And now we have all this information that's not in a big drop down, and it just allows the management in this kind of separated object way that creates associations where needed, but doesn't like mean we have to look at everything through the lens of a deal, which often is where we get into trouble when it comes to like, because it starts to make sense from a user perspective. Oh, let's just not close won it here. We've got to add these stages so we can fulfill the line items. So we're not done with the deal yet, right? That kind of stuff happens all the time.
Yeah, where you won the deal, but then there's like these extra deal steps like collect money, this deliver stuff. Like it's not delivered yet. So you need to move that into, again, that's like a fulfillment pipeline. It's like out, but then you lose. That's the whole point of like cloning and automatically duplicating. So regardless of what object it is, you want to end the object one place, start the same concept of the object, but in a different flow. So you need to know and say this flow ended, this one began, rather than infinitely extending the deal pipeline.
Yeah. Well, we are at time, fellas. Thank you so much for letting us know what's new and what's exciting in HubSpot quoting, but also Quote Happily, specifically is doing a ton of work without making you do a ton of work to your HubSpot portal or outside of your HubSpot portal, which is so key. Thanks so much for coming by today, fellas.
Yeah, man. I can't wait to show you what we're cooking up for Event Happily. You're going to go crazy.
I'm ready. I was going to say, whenever you're ready to do another one of those.
Oh, man.
We know when. So appreciate the love, man. Appreciate everybody for watching. And until the next one.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Peace.
Peace out, y'all.
Later.